Part 41. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 401. Chapter 401 Explain clearly 1. What could be better than to suddenly see a bright road appear in front of them when they thought there was no room for turning around, and they still had a chance, even if it was all his wild imagination and misunderstanding. Tang Feishan covered his face and cried silently. Qian Yuman was a little worried and looked at Tang Yuj with worried eyes. Does he believe it? Tang Yuj threw her the answer. Not only did she believe it, but she also realized that she had misunderstood Lei Lei and cried happily. But, she hasn't even started to explain yet. Smart people, if you need so much explanation, you should leave Tang Feishan a little more time. Tang Yuj turned around and left first. Qian Yuman immediately followed him. Seeing Xia Hongyang still standing aside, she reached out and grabbed his collar and dragged him away. Ouch, Sister Lili, don't pull me by the collar, this will make me lose my image. Although he does not have the image of a handsome nobleman like Tang Yuj, nor does he have the elegant temperament of Tang Fei, he is still a handsome guy in the hearts of many girls. Qian Yuman had been in contact with Xia Hongyang before, knew him a little, and was not polite to him. Qian Yuman and the others did not leave in a hurry, but stayed to explain some things clearly, and continued talking when Tang Feishan's mood stabilized. As a pregnant woman, Qian Yuman couldn't stand the unpleasant smell in the room. She originally wanted to do it herself, but when she saw the figure dangling aside, she immediately relied on her status as a pregnant woman to drive Xia Hongyang to put the thing they made last night deal with the evil. Poor young Master Xia Hongyang was intimidated into doing housework for the first time. It took Tang Feishan more than half an hour to stabilize his mood, clean up his embarrassment, and turn into a gentle and handsome man again, reappearing in front of Tang Yuj and the others. Qian Yuman stretched out her elbow and bumped Tang Yuj. Don't tell me, your brother is definitely a first-rate handsome guy, not much inferior to you. Then why don't I switch with him and become your husband, Tang Yuj suggested sincerely. Qian Yuman gave him a look of contempt, so she would not take what he said seriously. But he refused to admit defeat, raising his proud little chin. If you are willing, just change it. Brother, sister-in-law, Tang Feishan shouted. Hey, Qian Yuman responded with a smile. Not to mention, she felt particularly happy when she heard him call her sister-in-law. The response was as sweet as she wanted. Feishan, come and sit down quickly, we still need to make things clear to you. Tang Feishan sat opposite them, and several people sat across from each other. Qian Yuman cleared her throat, took a serious attitude, and apologized sincerely. Fei Chen, my sister-in-law is sorry for you. You misunderstood what happened in the morning and caused you to quarrel with Lili. In fact, the teacher Mei you met before was me. I went to see your eldest brother yesterday and stayed in his room, but you kicked me out. The rape-catching team caught you red-handed, causing you to misunderstand Lei Lei. Sister-in-law, I have some doubts in my mind and I want to confirm them with you. You say. Tang Feishan twitched his lips in embarrassment. Were you the one who was with my eldest brother at the bridal club last time? Qian Yuman suddenly choked on her own saliva, her face instantly turned red, and she looked at Tang Yuj with resentful eyes. Oh my god. Tang Feishan also went to the wedding dress club that day, and he caught him and Tang Yuj inside. How embarrassing. Not only was it recorded by the senior last time, but Tang Feishan also heard it and even mistook the person for Lili. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 402. Chapter 402 Explain clearly 2. As expected, there are certain risks in doing this kind of thing outside. Seeing that she rarely did it outside, she was bumped into one by one. Thinking about it, she felt embarrassed. She grabbed Tang Yuj's arms with more strength, all because she was seduced by Mr. Tang last time. However, Tang Yuj, a shameless person, didn't blush and his heart didn't beat. He lay lazily on the sofa like a normal person, looking at Qian Yuman with his beautiful eyes. Fei Chen, you didn't misunderstand that Lili I had an affair with your elder brother last time, did you? Tang Feishan remained silent, acknowledging that he had indeed misunderstood. Qian Yuman covered her face. How many evils had she unknowingly caused to her sister? Thinking about it now makes me regret it. That time on the cruise ship, it was also you, sister-in-law, right? Tang Feishan continued to ask. Qian Yuman laughed dryly. Your eldest brother was jealous that day, and you saw it too. Tang Feishan nodded. Qian Yuman was about to vomit blood. Tang Yuj guessed this right. Qian Yuman can completely guess why Tang Feishan broke out this time and said such outrageous things to Lili. Apparently he had endured it for a long time, mistakenly thinking that he could wait until after marriage, and maybe Lili would restrain herself. Unexpectedly, she was caught in the big brother's cabinet with her own eyes, and she completely exploded this time. Sister-in-law, you pretended to be Lili again and again. Is there something between you and Lili that you are hiding from me? Otherwise, you would have been in S city but not entered the Tang family. Finally asked about her idea, Qian Yuman scratched her face in embarrassment and looked at Tang Feishan with some embarrassment. Lili and I have liked to swap identities since we were young. In fact, I have been to the Tang family as Lili several times. But why do I pretend to be Lili and appear in front of you? Before asking for Lili's consent, it's not convenient to disclose it. After all, it's her private matter. Qian Yuman did not tell the story about Qi Lili's false pregnancy and then her pregnancy and miscarriage. This was something Lili had tried to hide countless times in the past and was unable to confess to Tang Feishan. But now she is not worried that what Lili is worried about will happen if the matter is revealed. After this breakup, they should be able to talk about it. Tang Feishan could tolerate Qi Lili cuckolding him before, so he should be easily forgiven for the deception of not being pregnant. Sure enough, she has something to hide from me, Tang Feishan said a little lonely. Qian Yuman said excitedly. Fei Chen, don't be angry. Lili does have something to hide from you, but her feelings for you will not be fake. Don't look at Lili, who is usually open-minded and cool, but she is actually quite fragile inside. There are some things if she doesn't confess to you, she has her own thoughts. Just like this misunderstanding, the lack of communication and confession between you has worsened the situation to the point of breaking up. You'd better go to Lili and explain it clearly. I was very sad after being dumped by you. I even went out to drink yesterday. Tang Feishan heard that Qi Lili ran away to drink sadly, and immediately stood up in distress. Thinking that he misunderstood her in the past, it must have been very uncomfortable for her to be dumped, especially after they broke up after her miscarriage. Suddenly he felt that he was not a human being at all, to actually hurt the woman he loved so much. Brother, sister-in-law, I'm going to find Lili first. Don't worry, I will have a good talk with her this time and I won't make any mistakes again. Even if she abandons him this time, he will not leave. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 403. Chapter 403 Explain clearly 3. Qian Yuman nodded repeatedly with satisfaction, but she still had to act like an older sister to defend her sister and teach her future brother-in-law a lesson. I heard from Lili that you said a lot of unpleasant things when you broke up with her, saying that you didn't love him at all, that you couldn't stand her character for a long time, and even ordered her not to appear in your life. These words deserve death. These words hit Qilil very hard, especially because Qilil had always suspected that he didn't have deep enough feelings for her. However, she changed the subject and said she was kind enough to remind him. My sister has always been worried that you married her because she was pregnant. If you break up with her at this juncture, you will inevitably have random thoughts. You go to her to explain this time, I am afraid you will suffer a lot, so be prepared to fight for a long time. Tang Fei listened to Qian Yuman's words in confusion. When did I say these words? Lily I told me what you told her on the phone yesterday. These are just part of what I said, and Lily I didn't tell me the details. Tang Feishan's expression was unpredictable. He really didn't remember saying these words. Even when they broke up, he wanted them to get together easily and he didn't say a harsh word. Xia Hongyang, who was busy cleaning, ran over with a broom and said excitedly. Fei Chen, don't you remember? Yesterday when I was drinking with you, you excitedly picked up your phone and called Lei Ye. You were so domineering at the time and said a lot of unpleasant things. I admire you very much. When did you change? Now you know how to use words to hurt your ex. Me, Tang Feishan pointed at himself. He drank so much last night that he didn't even remember that he had done this. Tang Yuj smiled happily on the sidelines. Brother, if you don't drink well in the future, don't drink too much. If you can't coax your siblings back, you can only blame yourself. After speaking clearly, she felt relaxed. She knew that Tang Feishan said some stupid things because he was drunk, and her discomfort completely disappeared. There is a saying that those who are close to vermilion are red and those who are close to ink are black. She followed Tang Yuj in gloating and ridiculing. According to my sister's character, you will most likely be dragged into a household that refuses to associate with you. Xia Hongyang raised his hand in agreement. Lei Ye, a Scorpio, will definitely take revenge on him. Tang Feishan tried hard to think of how to get Qi Lili to forgive him, but was ridiculed by his bad friend and his eldest brother. I'm going to find Lili now. Tang Feishan didn't waste any more time and left immediately. With the matter resolved, Qian Yumanyu also relaxed. She was worried that she had not slept well last night, so sleepiness came over her, and she fell asleep in less than a minute while lying in Tang Yuz's arms. Dimly, Qian Yuman heard some sounds of fighting, and woke up and realized that she was in bed, with her head resting on Tang Yuz's arms. Tang Yuz held a philosophy book in his hand and read it very carefully. Mr. Tang, what time is it? It was already dark. 7 o'clock, the sun has just gone down. Oh. Qian Yuman looked at the door suspiciously. Who's out there? Qian Yuman and Tang Yuj were still in Tang Feishan's villa. After she fell asleep, she rested directly in the guest room, waiting for Qian Yuman to wake up. If you're sleepy, keep sleeping. If you're hungry, I'll have someone bring you food, or we can go out to eat. The sounds outside became more and more intense. Qian Yuman sat up and wanted to get out of bed and walk outside, but was pulled back into his arms by Tang Yuj. Qian Yuman looked at him puzzled. There is clearly a noise outside, why don't you let me go out and have a look? End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 404. Chapter 404. Did Mr. Tang do anything bad? Don't go out and look, curiosity killed the cat. Tang Yuj put down the philosophy book in his hand and said in a relaxed tone. The more Tang Yuj refused to let her see, the more curious she became and wanted to go out and take a look. When he was unprepared, she suddenly rushed out of bed and opened the door. The moment the door opened, she was pulled into his arms by Tang Yuj, who was chasing after her. At the same time, his hand flew out from her face and hit a man who rushed over. He held her and spun around, and opened the door with his left foot. Bring it. Let's fight quickly, Tang Yuj said coldly, and the door closed as soon as he finished speaking. In just a few seconds after opening the door, Qian Yuman could clearly see what was happening outside. She saw a dozen people fighting outside, and 6 of them were wearing clothes she recognized. They had the Emgrand Group logo on their chests and clothes, and they were Tang Yuz's personal bodyguards. Before returning home, Jian asked Tanyuj and knew that he would have more or less 2 bodyguards with him, and these bodyguards would be lurking around in casual clothes. To confirm whether they are Tanyuj's bodyguards, you only need to see if there is a mark on their chest. Because of what happened last time, Tanyuj had a few more people with him. When Jian was sleeping, enemies suddenly came to attack her, and the bodyguards started fighting with them outside. "Mr. Tang, why did the fight start?" "It's okay. You have to eat and wait until things are sorted out before going out. You'll be fine soon." Jian pouted and looked at Tanyuj with a scrutinizing gaze. She didn't ask when he came back from the cruise ship last time because she didn't dare to ask after knowing his identity. She has not forgotten what her senior told her. Tanyuj is a dangerous person. In just 1 week, he had been attacked so many times, so had he also been attacked without her knowing? Why are there so many enemies? Is it true? As the principal said, he has done many dirty things and provoked some enemies, and he is often visited to seek revenge. Although couples sometimes need to have some private space, she feels that there shouldn't be too many secrets between them. She still wants to ask questions clearly to avoid guessing. As expected, it became quiet outside not long after. Jian kept staring at Tanyuj but said nothing. "Wife, just ask whatever you want to ask." Jian thought about it for a moment. She originally wanted to ask tactfully, but in the end she decided to ask simply and directly. "You know that the senior is a member of the National Interpol Police. He told me that you are a dangerous person and are suspected of drug trafficking, money laundering, smuggling, and other illegal activities. I want to know if you have done any of these." Jian breathing became tense. She was really afraid that he would say yes, and she really didn't know how to face him in the future. He has excellent conditions, is handsome, rich and talented, and loves her very much. He is a rare husband. But there is always some bottom line in her heart. If he does these things, she is afraid that she will not be able to continue to be with him. She does not want to have a drug lord husband, and worries every day that he will be caught one day. Especially drug lords are a group of heartless villains. How many families have been destroyed because of drug addiction? No matter what, once Tanyuj admits it, she will leave him without hesitation. Tanyuj answered with the same serious attitude. "No." Jian immediately put down the stone that was pressing on her chest, patted her chest and exhaled. "It scared me to death. I was really afraid that you would answer yes just now." Knowing that Tanyuj had never done this, the things he had been worrying about these past few days were finally resolved. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 405. Chapter 405. He is brother Wang 1. Tanyuj immediately showed aggrieved eyes and sighed miserably. "Jian, in your mind, am I that kind of person?" His heart ached so much that tears were about to burst out of his eyes. "I didn't believe it at first, but recently I often see you as a person who is always in danger and protected by personal bodyguards. You must have a lot of enemies. You are a serious businessman. Do you think I believe that you haven't done anything bad?" Jian didn't believe that those who called profiteers and profiteers businessmen were not called merchants for nothing. "Tell me, are the people seeking revenge this time the same group as the previous group?" "No," Tanyuj said honestly. "You're quite sensible if he dares to answer yes, buy durian immediately and make him kneel down. This group of people have different skill levels from the previous group, and they carry different weapons. The last group of people were obviously much more powerful. This time, this group of people just moved their hands and feet without using guns. It is impossible for them to be the same person. Behavior. If you confess, you will be lenient, if you resist, you will be stern." Jian looked down at him like a queen, with a look like an extra whip in her hand. If Tanyuj said something wrong, she would whip him a few times. The sugar baby knelt down on the bed very obediently and told him honestly. Honey, you also know that my emigrant group is very profitable. I admit that I have wandered in some gray areas in order to quickly expand the company, but I am definitely not involved in gangs, so you can rest assured that one day your husband will never, caught and sent to jail. As for some people seeking revenge during this period, that's normal. You see, my father is protected by some bodyguards. There is no way for us to be the helmsman who is responsible for the livelihood of tens of thousands of people. In fact, I don't attract enemies when I do things. It's not Xiao's problem. He is sometimes too ruthless in doing things. In some competitions, he is too cruel to competing companies, which leads to those companies always holding a grudge against us. As a result, as the boss of the group, I am also in trouble with today's group of people. There is no need to worry, it was the chairman of the company who was acquired by the group a few days ago. The other party was unwilling to accept that the company was acquired at a low price, so he came to seek revenge. Just drive him away. They will not come back in the future. Naturally, he will not dare to cause trouble again. If he knows that he exists, he will deal with it directly. The other party will not be able to retaliate, so how can he come again? Tang Yuj shamelessly put all the blame on Mirongye, showing how innocent he was. As for whether Qian Yuman believes it or not, of course she wouldn't believe it. Mirongye, that noisy person, didn't look like a ruthless person. Even if he was instructed by the boss, Tang Yuj. Unfortunately, Qian Yuman has not yet realized that her thoughts at the moment are still too superficial. After interrogating the poor sugar baby, Qian Yuman took his hand and asked distressedly. Did the beating just now hurt? It doesn't hurt. Qian Yuman did not believe in evil and insisted on taking off her clothes for inspection. When she took off her clothes, she saw a trace of blood leaking from the healed wound on Tang Yuj's arm. Although it was not much, it still made her feel distressed and made her cry. It was the injury caused by the action just now. She felt very distressed. The large movement just now quickly took her out of danger, which caused his wound to be pulled. It's okay, just a small wound. Qian Yuman looked at him several times, and then she felt relieved after bandaging the wound on his arm herself. At this moment, Qian Yuman's phone rang. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 406. Chapter 406. He is brother Wang too. At this moment, Qian Yuman's phone rang, and a photo of a cute grimace with golden hair flying in the wind appeared on the screen. When Tang Yuj saw the phone, he grabbed it instantly and stared at the screen. When Tang Yuj saw the phone, he grabbed it instantly and stared at the screen. Honey, when did you set the caller ID on the photo of that Xian Yingzhi? Make a fuss. She also set up Li Li and Xiao Feng. Qian Yuman snatched the phone from his hand and answered the call happily. Yingzhi, look for me. Xiao Qian, where are you? I've been ringing the doorbell at your door for a long time and no one has come out. You should go home quickly, Xian Yingzhi said anxiously, just when Qian Yuman thought he couldn't wait to see her. At that moment, Xian Yingzhi's next words made her vomit blood. I heard my baby Kyokia barking. I miss it so much and I want to hug it. Qian Yuman was confused. He didn't miss her as a living person, but actually missed her dog. That's how people's status is inferior to dogs. Okay, I'll go back in a minute. It took an hour to drive back. When Qian Yuman arrived, she saw Xian Yingzhi sitting on the suitcase in a daze out of boredom. He rushed over as soon as he saw her. Qian Yuman looked carefully up and down at Xian Yingzhi, whom she had not seen for more than a month. During the time he went to South Africa, Xian Yingzhi really tanned, and his fair and tender skin turned into a wheat color, but he still couldn't hide his cute temperament. Even so, he still looked like a boy of 17 or 18 years old. Although he once used his ID card to prove that he was 22 years old, Qian Yuman still suspected that he was under 18. Xian Ying rushed to her, his face turned red with excitement. Quick, quick, open the door. Xian Ying looked impatient, as if he wanted to meet his little lover. Cupid was Xian Ying's little lover. Seeing that he was anxious, Qian Yuman took his time to open the door and chatted with him. Yingzhi, didn't you say you were going for a month? Why did you go so long? My boss and I went to country M for business, so I came back late. Go and open the door. As soon as Xian Yingzhi finished speaking, Cupid's excited wolf howl sounded in the room. This man and the dog were really impatient. Qian Yuman pulled Xian Yingzhi and refused to go in. Let me see if you are tanned. You are very tan. From the face to the neck to the arms, it is mostly dark. Xian Yingzhi cried pitifully. He turned into a little black coal and was no longer white and tender. He rolled up his sleeves sadly, pointing at the huge difference between black and white skin and complained. My boss is so inhumane. He actually sent me to South Africa. I will never go there again. He was so heartbroken that he couldn't help crying. Tang Yuj, who was on the side, added silently in his heart, if you continue to hang around my wife, I will ask Lan Tianlu to send you to South Africa again. This time, you will be sent for half a year, so as not to pester them every day. I've been waiting for a long time. When will Xiao Qian open the door? Qian Yuman kept looking back at the door and calling Cupid's name through the door. Having almost been amused, Qian Yuman opened the door. The moment the door opened, the excited Cupid rushed out and ran quickly towards Qian Yuman. Quite conscientious. As soon as Qian Yuman finished thinking about it, she turned around and rushed towards Xian Yingzhi, jumping up and down excitedly, holding up her two little paws for a hug. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 407. Chapter 407. He is brother Wang 3. The world has changed, it has changed. The world has really changed. Cupid really loves the immortals and wise men the most, but she is not his parents. Xian Yingzhi quickly lifted Cupid up, cradled him in his arms and walked into the house. The man and the dog were excitedly intimate with each other. Cupid licked him, and Xian Yingzhi touched his head and kept saying he missed him. Mr. Tang, I suddenly feel that the two of us are redundant. The immortal Yingzhi hugged Cupid, raised its naked body, and said sadly. Who shaved my baby Kyokyo's hair like this? Cupid is particularly miserable at this moment. He was in the shape of a little lion a month ago, but now he is completely bald, and his hair is surprisingly short all over his body. This is due to Tang Yuj. At that time, Tang Yuj and Qian Yuman were making out. Cupid suddenly ran in and disturbed them. He was so angry that he took the dog by the neck and shaved off its hair. Cupid, who was bald, thin, and not very good looking, instantly turned into a clown dog. He was still ugly before, but now he is pure ugliness. Cupid may have understood what immortal Yingzhi said, so he yelled at him a few times, broke away from his hands, and rushed to Tang Yuj. Cupid, who thought he had help, screamed at Tang Yuj. You little bastard, you forgot who bought the dog food for you in the past half month. Tang Yuj squatted down and grabbed Cupid domineeringly, and ravaged its head. Cupid is crazy. He no longer needs to be wronged. He can repay the wrongs he suffered before. Before, he was thrown out of the bedroom and slept on the cold floor. In order to resist, Cupid opened his mouth and bit Tang Yuj's arm. However, its teeth were not sharp and there were problems with its bite. Tang Yuj's bite was so painful that he didn't even know it hurt. This stinky dog! Qian Yuman immediately snatched the dog from its hand and threw it to Xian Yingzhi, holding his arm and saying with concern. Any bites? Look at the rough skin and thick flesh. Tanyuj raised his hand and showed her his arm. Jian Yuman pulled her arm and took a look. There was indeed only a row of bite marks and no other wounds. However, her eyes fell on the joints above her arms and saw two small scars that also looked like bite marks. She knew all the scars on Tanyuj's body. She had seen them before and didn't think much about them. But today she saw the shallow old scars and stared at them in a daze. "Mr. Tang, are these two small scars caused by cat bites?" Jian Yuman boldly assumed, staring at him with her beautiful peach blossom eyes, and asked with some anxiety in her heart. The reason why Jian Yuman asked this was because when she saw this scar, it reminded her of the dream she had yesterday and the photos she saw. Because of Lili's incident, she kept forgetting to ask Tanyuj about the photos. "I saw a photo of Wang Tiankai and the Tang family at Tanyuj's house. Tanyuj was missing from the photo, so the person who looked exactly like Wang Tiankai in the photo was Tanyuj." "That's right," Tanyuj smiled slightly with a smile in his eyes. Jian Yuman took a breath of cold air and didn't know what the correct reaction was for a moment. She slowly calmed down her mood, turned around, put the dog into Xian Ying's arms, and pushed the dog and human suitcases out together. "Yingj, Cupid has taken care of you these days, it's best to let it grow a little more flesh." After saying that, he closed the door firmly. It was so stupid that the immortal Yingj was kicked out not long after he came. He looked down at the dog in his arms, but he still had Cupid. "There will be 7 more updates later, so you should go to bed. Your Majesty doesn't know what time he will finish writing. He must finish it during the day today. From now on, he will finish it in one go at 12 o'clock in the morning. My beloved concubine will not have to wait any more." End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 408. Chapter 408. He is brother Wang 4. She looked at the doorframe, turned around and faced Tanyuj directly, looking at his monster-like face. Next to him, a nihilistic person appeared, who looked like Wang Tiankai when he was a child, and then overlapped with Tanyuj. The reason why she just asked Tanyuj if the wound on Tanyuj's arm was caused by a cat bite was because Wang Tiankai had the exact same wound on his arm. "I still remember that when they were playing outside when they were children, they saw a very beautiful wild cat on the roadside. Jian Yuman clamored to take it home and raise it, and asked Wang Tiankai to help her catch it. Wang Tiankai, who loved Jian Yuman, went to scratch her, but there were many cat claws on her hands, and even her arm was bitten hard by the cat. The wound healed later, but the bite mark remained. At this moment, knowing that Tanyuj had the same wound on his arm, in the same location, and was bitten by a cat, and knowing about the photo, she was speechless for a moment. If the Tanyuj in front of him is the Wang Tiankai he met when he was a child, then who is the man he will meet when he grows up? If he wasn't Wang Tiankai, why would he have a little turtle on his hand and know many things about his childhood? It's just a mess. Jian Yuman kept staring at Tanyuj's arm, gently stroking the wound with her fingers, and asked solemnly, "Did you get this wound from a cat bite?" Brother Wang had the same wound on his hand when he was a child, and it was also bitten by a cat. Her dark and bright eyes kept staring at Tanyuj, trying to see clearly all the changes on his face. What's up?" She let go of Tanyuj's arm, turned around and walked to the bedroom, took out the group photo she had just taken from her parents' house not long ago, and raised the photo in her hand to Tanyuj. "I was at your house yesterday and saw photos of you when you were a child. You looked exactly like brother Wang when you were a child." The photo in Jian Yuman's hand is a photo of them. They are still very young in the photo. Jian Yuman was only 8 years old at the time. She didn't believe there was such a coincidence in the world. Tanyuj and Wang Tiankai looked exactly the same. Moreover, I heard from Grandma Tang that Tanyuj disappeared when he was 3 years old and returned to the Tang family when he was 14. The time coincided with each other. Wang Tiankai's family moved away when he was 14 years old, without even saying hello. The year Wang Tiankai disappeared coincided with the year Tangyuj returned, and the months were also very close. There is no way such a coincidence can happen in the world, so there is only one possibility. Are you Wang Tiankai? The smile on Tangyuj's face became very bright, and he shook his head slowly. I'm not Wang Tiankai. When Qian Yuman felt a little disappointed when he heard his denial, Tangyuj said something else. There is no such person as Wang Tiankai in this world. Qian Yuman looked at him and tilted her head to think about what he said. What's the meaning? Tangyuj gently pinched her left ear and shook it gently. This simple movement without any words made Qian Yuman look ecstatic on her face. Brother Wang, Qian Yuman screamed, with an excited smile on her face, and she opened her arms to hug him hard. It's really you, it's really you. The simple action just now is indeed the most direct communication. When she was a child, Brother Wang liked to pinch her left ear and shake it gently. This was their exclusive intimate gesture. Tangyuj used this gesture to tell her that he was Brother Wang. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 409. Chapter 409 He is Brother Wang 5. Qian Yuman hugged his waist, so excited that she didn't know what words to use to describe herself. Her husband was actually the man she wanted to marry most when she was a child. By some strange combination of circumstances, she actually married Brother Wang. Are you really Brother Wang, my Brother Wang? Qian Yuman raised her head and looked at him expectantly, expecting him to tell her his identity personally. Tangyuj sighed helplessly and said with a fond smile. I am your Brother Wang. Ah, really? Qian Yuman screamed happily. Even if she met the fake Wang again, she had never been so excited. Wrong. After Qian Yuman was excited, she also realized a huge problem. The person in front of her was Brother Wang, so who was the person she met a few days ago? You are Brother Wang, then who is the person I saw a few days ago? Although Qian Yuman never mentioned to Tangyuj that she had an affair with Wang Tiankai when she was a child, they had talked on the cruise ship and had dinner at the same table. Tangyuj also knew that the fake Wang Tiankai was her childhood sweetheart. Big buddy. Qian Yuman's question made Tangyuj's eyes flicker slightly, and his eyes were complicated, and he slowly revealed the true identity of the person. That's God's blessing. God bless you. Qian Yuman opened her mouth in shock and opened her teeth and claws angrily. That little pretended to be you to deceive me. No, you know he is Tianyue, but you still look at me calling him Brother Wang and being indifferent. Don't you know that since I was a child, I have only called you Brother Wang and your brother? God bless. Qian Yuman's eyes narrowed dangerously. Or you two brothers deliberately teamed up to trick me. Qian Yuman crossed her hands on her chest, feeling very excited but also aware that there were many questions. For example, Tangyuj watched helplessly as she called Wang Tianyue Brother Wang. Without revealing Wang Tianyue's identity, they were clearly brothers, but they pretended that they were strangers and called each other Mr. Tang and Mr. Wang respectfully. They are obviously brothers. But isn't Tangyuj the eldest son of the Tang family? Why is it Brother Wang again? Why deny that he is not Wang Tiankai? Tangyuj's smile froze slightly and he said sadly. Tianyue and I haven't sat down to have a meal together for many years. The last time they sat down to eat on a cruise ship was the only time they had in 11 years. Tangyuj looked a little sad, which made Qian Yuman's heart ache. This was the first time she saw him looking sad. Did something happen to your Wang family back then? Otherwise, why did you all suddenly disappear? Now I still say that I haven't sat down to eat in 11 years. It seems that something must have happened 11 years ago to make Tanyu's eyes look a little sad. Tanyuj remained silent, but his eyes became more complicated. Brother Wang, you don't have to say it if you don't want to, don't embarrass yourself. Qian Yuman stopped asking questions and stayed with her quietly, waiting for him to speak. After waiting for about a minute, Tanyuj explained in a hoarse voice. Don't blame me for not taking the initiative to admit my past identity before, because even I myself wish that the me I used to be had never appeared in this world. How could I meet you again as Wang Tiankai? Tanyuj's mood gradually became excited, and his eyes even shot out an icy cold light. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 410. Chapter 410. It turns out he doesn't love me. 1. Qian Yuman stopped asking questions when he reached his lips. It seemed that a lot of things happened to Mr. Tang back then. If he had the chance to understand and ask questions later, he would not force him to ask him now. From Qian Yuman's sporadic information, I learned that Tanyuj disappeared when he was 3 years old. Later, when he was 14 years old, he found his home and confirmed his identity as the eldest young master of the Tang family. How did he disappear during this period, and how did he find him back? After he came back, even the Wang family disappeared without a trace, and then he even became estranged from Wang Tianyue, his beloved brother since childhood. It is impossible to fully explain it in a few words. There must have been huge problems back then. There is a big difference between Tanyuj now and Wang Tiankai back then. She can't describe it in just a few words. Her temperament has changed, her personality has changed, and her way of dealing with the world has also changed. The only thing that hasn't changed is loving her. He also explained clearly why Tanyuj could always tell the difference between Qian Yuman and Qi Lilei. If he didn't know the existence of twins, just like Tang Feishan now, he wouldn't be able to think about the twins at all. Because he knew Lilei's existence, he could distinguish her from Lilei. Mr. Tang, you had known that I existed and that I was Qi Manman. When you met me again, why did you deliberately pretend to be an honest person to get married? Don't think that I would believe that you didn't recognize me. I won't believe this. She remembered Ji Fan said that he had been secretly in love with her for several years. Tanyuj said with a serious expression. I don't want to disturb your life. In my opinion, your life is simple, ordinary and happy. By the time I knew you were Xiao Tian Tian, you already had Su Warong by your side. So I didn't show up to disturb your life. It wasn't until Su Warong disappeared and Qian Yuman was in crisis that Tanyuj appeared in front of her. Tanyuj's few simple words moved Qian Yuman very much and she held his hand tightly. In order to ease each other's heavy mood, Qian Yuman said with a relaxed tone and a smile. Thank you for your protection. It is my greatest happiness to meet you again and fall in love with you. The love is so deep that the words of confession can be said easily, not to mention that they are a husband and wife, a loving couple with a very stable relationship. Tanyuj looked at her deeply with his deep eyes, almost making her feel embarrassed. She said a little shyly. Compared with your feelings for me, my contribution is really very little. I have noticed all the kindness you have done to me in the past few months, and my heart is beating like crazy because of you. I already like you. So I will work harder on our marriage in the future. Speak out boldly if you have love. She will not let the past happen again. She missed Su Warong because she never confessed her love. This time she didn't want to miss him. Mr. Tang, I'm curious whether you have liked me since you were a child. Ever since you were with me, you have fallen deeply in love with this beauty. Qian Yuman raised her head and looked at him expectantly. Qian Yuman thought she would hear his ridicule, or respond with an affectionate confession, but she didn't expect Tanyuj to lower his head and speak apologetically. Sorry. Qian Yuman was stunned, thinking that she heard wrongly. Sorry. What are you sorry for? Qian Yuman stretched out her hand, held his head, and moved her face closer to his, letting their eyes meet in the air, with a bright and beautiful smile, with a hint of coquettish tone. End of this chapter.